Greetings, fellow humans. Katrina here. Quick disclaimer, I'm a licensed professional counselor. I'm not your counselor. Anything I'm about to say should not be taken as medical, legal, or otherwise advice. This podcast is purely for entertainment and amusement purposes. Some education too. That's it. Disclaimer over. Today I thought we'd talk a bit about validation. That is something that is easier said than done. So I went ahead and looked up the definition of validate. So validate as a verb is to check or prove the accuracy of something. It can also be to demonstrate the support the truth or value of something. And then it can be make or declare legally valid. So the definition that we're going with today is to demonstrate or support the value of. And so that's valuing other people and what they're saying in an interpersonal interaction. So I'll first give you a little bit a rundown of where this is coming from. This is coming from a dialectical perspective. In dialectical behavioral therapy, there's 4 areas that Marsha Linehan touches on, and those are mindfulness, distress tolerance, emotional regulation, and interpersonal effectiveness. So that interpersonal effectiveness is where validation comes into play, because how to validate is easier said than done, in my opinion. So we're going to talk today about a few different ways, 6 specifically, 6 ways to validate another person. So without further ado, here we go. Number 1, pay attention. That's right. Look interested, even if you're not. Listen and observe. No multitasking. Make eye contact if that's comfortable for you. Stay focused, nod occasionally, and respond with your face. Your face can be very expressive. Smile at happy statements and look concerned when hearing something painful. Number 2, reflect back. Say back what you heard or observed to be sure that you actually understand what the other person is saying. No judgmental language or tone of voice. Try to really get what the other person feels or thinks. Have an open mind, which means no disagreeing, no criticizing, no trying to change the other person's mind or goals, and use a voice tone that allows the other person to correct you. An example, so you're mad at me because you think I just lied to get back at you. Did I get that right? See how my tone was even? It wasn't, so you're mad at me because you think I just lied? No. Keep a calm, even tone and reflect back what you think you heard, because sometimes it is just that. If you think you heard something, one person can say, "What are you drinking in your cup there?" And the other person can hear, "So you're accusing me of drinking alcohol?" That doesn't match up all the time. The third way to validate is to read minds. Be sensitive to what is not being said by the other person. Now, mind reading can be a cognitive distortion, so be careful that you're not twisting their words. Pay attention to facial expressions, body language, what is happening, and what you know about the other person already. So show that you understand in words or by your actions, being open to being corrected. An example of this is when you're asking a friend for a ride at the end of a long day and the person slumps down, you might say, "You look really tired. Let me look for someone else." Number 4, another way to validate is to understand. And that is, look for how the other person feels, is thinking, or if he or she is making sense given the person's history, state of mind or body, or current events, so like the causes of it. Even if you don't approve of the other person's behavior, or even if you feel that their belief is incorrect. So say, "It makes sense that you because da. So an example, if you send a party invitation to the wrong address, you can say, "I can see why you thought I might be excluding you on purpose." But that's another example of where one thing can happen and 2 different responses can be had. Not getting a party invitation because it went to the wrong address doesn't mean that an invitation wasn't sent in the first place. So the person who's interpreting it as, "Oh, they left me out on purpose," That is a cognitive distortion. And so by simply validating their distortion, that lets them know that they were heard. You don't need to untwist it for them. You just need to hear it and understand it. Number 5 is acknowledge the valid. Show that you see that the other person's thoughts, feelings, or actions are valid given the current reality and facts, and then act as if the person's behavior is valid. An example, if you're criticized for not taking out the garbage on your day, it was your turn, admit that it was your day and take it out. If people present a problem, help them solve it, unless they just want to be heard. If people are hungry, give them food. Acknowledge the effort a person is making. Because believe it or not, even when people behave poorly or say something inaccurate, they are doing the best that they can at each and every moment in time. Number 6, last way, but not the only last way. I mean, there's a lot of different ways. I don't know them all, but this is another way to validate. Show equality. Show equality. Just be yourself. Don't one up or one down. Oh, that happened to you. Let me tell you about what happened to me. Treat the other person as an equal, not as fragile or incompetent. For example, be willing to make and admit. We are all willing to make mistakes, but be willing to admit mistakes. If someone introduces him or herself or theirself by their first name, introduce yourself by your first name. Ask other people for their opinions. Give up being defensive. Be careful in giving advice or telling someone what to do if you're not asked or required to do so. And even then, remember, you could be wrong. So those are the 6 ways that I have for how to validate. And if you're looking for a version of this that you can read yourself, it is in Marsha Linehan's Big Giant DBT Skills and Handouts workbook, and it is on page 156, titled A How-To Guide to Validation. So hopefully you get some ideas for how to validate others. And if you want to turn these things on yourself, you can validate yourself. That's a different story for a different time. But I do hope today was educational and amusing. So without anything else to say, I'll let you go about your week. And if you want to support the show, go ahead and click the button on the website or Cash App Katrina Dragon. And as always, I do appreciate each and every one of you simply for existing.